Let's go. Let's go. Leland, live on your radio. Live on your radio. Birmingham's Real Talk. Talk 99.5. Talk 99.5.
Live is on your radio. Leland live on the radio. Leland live on the radio. Come on. Leland live is on your radio. Leland live on the radio. Leland live on the radio. Come on. Leland live is on your radio.
All right, y'all, Leland Live, Talk 99.5. I'm going to go back to the top, and we'll go through some headlines to get y'all all caught up. Birmingham Broker bringing you the show this hour. BHAMBroker.com, BHAMBroker.com. That is Craig and Keith and that team. Y'all, this is just the smart way to get a car sold if you got a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking about trading or selling. It just makes sense. They're pros. They know what it's worth. They do all the stuff you don't want to do, and they get you top dollar. And even they do have a consignment fee, basically, but minus that fee, you'll do better with them than even on your own. You don't have to do any of the work. You basically, it's kind of an oversimplification, but you take them your car, and they'll work with you on what your bottom line is, and give you a range, try to give you a minimum that they're going to get for you, and they'll go north of that. They always do. And then they go to work. If it needs some prep, they'll work on that, get that built into the deal you do. And you hand them the keys, you sign some paperwork, you give them a few days, it's gone. You get a check, life is good, top dollar. It just makes sense. I know once you've had this experience, you'll want them to sell all your vehicles. And plus, you get to know them. Craig's just, what an affable guy, what a great guy and a good friend he's become over the years. Same thing with Keith and those guys. Let them help you. Downtown Birmingham, 4th Avenue South, BHAMBroker.com, BHAMBroker.com. All right, let's start right back at the top. I'll run back through some things we've already discussed and throw the phone lines open tonight. 545-9950 if you want to get in on the show. Come on. Sad news today in the missing University of Alabama student, Jimmy Gracie. We now have confirmation authorities have identified the body that they found along the waterfront in Barcelona as the 20-year-old who was last seen outside a nightclub at like 3 a.m. down in Barcelona. It became a story of national interest at one point. You know, you got American kids traveling abroad, especially during these times, and he goes missing. We don't know. Right now, most of the reporting is leaning toward a concept, and this is where we think authorities are too, that it was an accident, that he was out on his own, perhaps walking on what we would call here in the United States a jetty. Rocky shoreline down by the water. Barcelona is on the Mediterranean, a beautiful little city, and that perhaps something happened and he wound up in the water. There's no immediate evidence of foul play. Even though they did find his phone on somebody else, they think that just could have been lost or stolen or something a different way. They're not suspecting foul play. I will say this, a little bit of caution here. Barcelona and, of course, Spain, they're very, very sensitive to American tourism. And they don't need a story that paints a picture that a tourist was mugged or killed or anything along those lines. I will say, having been there last year, it's a very safe city, very walkable city. In fact, I was talking to Jessica. I don't think we took a single Uber the whole time we were there. We just walked. And it's a little hilly and it's a challenge, but every day we'd go out and pick whatever site we were going to see. And we were staying in a pretty central place, but we could get down to the waterfront. We could get to the big church tour. We could see all the other things in that city and eat all the food. Really enjoyed our time there and the people we met. Very, very friendly to American tourists. But again, this goes back. I look at this story through the lens of a parent. I was at once 20 years old, and so was David Sears, who's in for AJ today. And we all know how kids at that age can do things and exercise poor judgment. And if there's alcohol involved, that's always a factor too. I mean, the first thing that goes when you start drinking is you lose your judgment. You overestimate yourself, and who knows what really happened. But I just say my kids did some international travel at that age, particularly to this city, which is kind of what connected me to it. If you're a dad of sons, you worry about them in certain ways. I'm learning about the daughter thing and the sensitivities there and what you got to worry about. But it's a different deal with boys. They're aggressive and they're boneheads and they'll get into things and you pray for them all the time and you worry about them, especially when they're off on their own. But if there's any good that comes of this, maybe other parents will extend some lessons to their sons to not be too confident. Don't ever get alone. Take a wingman with you. You can't let your guard down, especially if you're in an unfamiliar area. And then there's the whole drinking thing and using good judgment. I don't even know that the kid was drinking, and we're just operating on some presumptions right now. But what an absolute tragedy for his family. It's a story. I said this at the beginning of the show. Sometimes stories come along and they'll click with you or they don't. And if this story doesn't click with you, I get that. It did with me immediately. It was everything I worried about when I was a parent of kids that age, and still to this day. You always there. I said it to my 6'5" young man the other day. He might be twice my size, and off in the world, and a grown ass man with a beard and a baby, but he's still my little boy. I mean, in my mind, for the rest of his life, he's 5 years old, and I had some duty to protect him, but you can't do that their whole lives, and so you turn it over to their judgment, you turn it over to God, and you hope they're going to be okay. And I guess that's maybe how my mama sees me sometimes too. You don't know, but prayers for that family and his, his classmates and I guess his fraternity brothers and people over at the University of Alabama. Death is not something that should be among you at that age. It's a shock, and it's surprising, and it's disconcerting. So they're going through a lot over there too. And I will say the folks that were around him thought a lot of him, and they all stepped up in every way they could while he was missing. But again, that has been confirmed, and that's all we know as of this hour. Nothing major, nothing new. I said we get some phone calls, so we'll start with the phone calls. Iran war still going, I guess you'd say swimmingly. The world has to figure out the Strait of Hormuz. That was always going to be the deal. We've known this for 50 years. It's easier to shut it off than it is to stop some guerrilla or terrorist activity. So the world's starting to come together now. Several NATO nations and Japan said, hey, we'll participate in some kind of flotilla or convoy or protection zone. Trump's smart to involve the rest of the world. They're the ones with the most at stake. As soon as we quit dropping bombs, and as soon as that is figured out, and it's not going to happen in, 19 days? It's not going to happen in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, but it might. There's going to be a small price to pay for us with energy prices. But on the other side of this is a freedom for the flow of energy and oil like we've never had in modern history. There's always been this threat, and the way Iran on its heels and on its back and crust can still pose a threat to that zone shows you how important this always was.
Do you want to play the fun clip we had of Trump with the Japanese prime minister?
Yes. So Trump had Japan join the club today. They had their prime minister here today. And I was watching this live, and I told David at the beginning of the show, I had a moment where I felt like Trump was reading my mind, or I was reading his mind, because I heard a Japanese reporter, and you're going to hear it here in a second, ask a question. He said, why didn't you tell us we're your ally? Why didn't you tell us before you went and bombed Iran?
Of course, no. Japan and U.S. are very good friends. But one question, why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor?
A little Pearl Harbor joke while the Japanese prime minister was sitting there very uncomfortably. Hey, it happened, and Trump was right. And it's the same thing I was thinking. I heard this Japanese reporter basically questioning Trump as to, why wouldn't you just tell the whole world when you were going in? And the first thing I thought was, well, Japan didn't tell everybody before they hit us, no, did they? And Trump said it. I'm going to miss him. He's got less than 3 years ago. We're going to wind up with spokespeople and a president that hides in the White House, and we never hear from him until once every 6 months, they'll come out and do a news conference. That was good stuff. All right, let's hit the phones. I promise phones. Let's do phones. 514 again. 545-9950. Here's Tom and Calera. What's up, Tom?
Hi, guys. Actually, we were warned about Pearl Harbor before it happened.
Well, I know, but you know what I'm
unfortunately, they let it happen. Okay, but now I was going to talk about all this
Hold on.
oil.
Did the Jews let it happen? I mean, because we're back to conspiracy theories now. Thank you for throwing that back
No, it
on
was
the table.
not Jews. It
I'm
was
joking.
the American military.
I know the history,
the
Tom,
Navy.
but Japan
Okay,
didn't warn
all right.
us.
Well, why would they? They're not stupid.
Exactly. That's what
Only-
Trump's saying. Keep going, Tom.
Anyway, I was going to ask the question. I'm sure it's come up before. If we're supposedly swimming in oil, why is gas prices so high? Why do we need the Straits of Hormuz? We've got our own oil. We're an exporter. So why is the gas going up if we got all this oil?
Well, because
That's-
gas is traded on a commodities market, which is a futures market, right? And it's traded worldwide, and investors are worldwide. And it's all supply and demand equation. And we've got two investment indexes. One is called the WTI. It's the West Texas Intermediate Index, and it's lower than the more worldly index of the Brent crude, which is the ocean going big super tanker crude. And so those markets, any disruption in supply affects, and I wish we could wall off and just provide oil for ourselves, but our oil industry explores all over the world. When we say we're a net exporter, that's what we drill at home, but it's what also our domestic companies drill in other places. That adds to our total. So we drill everywhere and we sell everywhere, so it's all connected whether we like it or not. And I don't like it, but the Strait, with it being a choke point and choking off, the thing about oil particularly, unlike gold, okay, gold's a commodity, right? But it doesn't get consumed like petroleum. Petroleum is consumed and burned off every single day. And the minute there's a disruption, there immediately is a demand equation because the demand doesn't usually diminish unless we have a COVID shutdown. So at some point, there are only so many days of it in storage. The United States, I think, has about 200 days of oil in our reserves. And so it's not an excuse. I don't like it either, but it's just the way it is. The markets are traded on future deliveries. And so what they're betting on today, and it started going down today, our index started going down a little bit despite all the attacks on the infrastructure. Any kind of forecasted disruption is going to get built into today's price. And the gas stations go and jack their prices up immediately because they got to have the revenue to pay for that next fill up when the tanker truck shows up.
Well, one other thing I have, a quick thing, and I go, why doesn't Trump pull a Reagan and put the National Guard or the Army in the TSA places in the airport so they can keep moving, and the heck with the Democrats?
That's probably not too bad an idea, but you'd have to train them on that work, and that would take longer than it probably would just to get this thing solved. I mean, you couldn't instantly just turn call up a guardsman and turn them into a security agent. It's a lot more layered than that.
Well, they got a lot of MPs and SPs. I was in the military.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
be
That's
that
true.
as it may, y'all have a great day.
All right, man. Look, at some point, I don't know, maybe he needs to, but it's beyond the TSA. They're huge parts of our government in Homeland Security. They're not getting checks. TSA is just what the public's coming up against and being inconvenienced by. But you also got Secret Service agents and others running around out there looking for terrorists that aren't getting paid too, and you don't see them. Toby is in Jasper. What's up, Toby?
Not much. I'm in Walmart's parking lot. I thought I'd just call and tell you this. There was 4 guys standing around a pickup. They said if they can get their hands on the guy that owns the OPEC, they're going to whoop his you-know-what.
Owns the what?
OPEC.
OPEC? All right.
Yeah.
It's not OPEC. It's Iran. Okay. Thanks, man. Now, look, I'll go back over. There's another factor here that I had to learn about, and I'm going to see if I can do it in a minute because we got calls. Ready? It's the insurance companies. Iran is threatening to blow up ships, and they've tried to attack a couple. Okay, so the threat's there. Their capacity to do so is greatly diminished, but it's not zero. So these ships are all covered by particularly Lloyd's of London, who's been around for 300 years. They're older than us. Lloyd's of London profits greatly over international turmoil. Okay. You've got a company that King George laid the cornerstone for their building. That's how old this thing is. You ready? So Lloyd's, anytime there's a risk environment, they're going to get ultimate premiums from these boats. And the day this Strait of Hormuz threat started, they told those ships, "You're not covered. We're not covering you. Don't go through." Some of these ships are worth $1 billion. So all the ships had to park. It was a financial consideration that if something did happen, even if they didn't see a single mine or Iranian patrol boat, their insurance carrier says they won't cover it. So they all froze up and parked. So Trump came with a plan to guarantee those ships financially, creating another insurance product so that these companies would take that product over Lloyd's. And a lot of that's not worked out yet. That's big contracts, a lot of contingencies, things that have to get signed and into law. And they're working on it to give these ship owners confidence that without Lloyd's, they can still move that boat. Lloyd's also, which controls a lot of things that happen in the United Kingdom through chaos. And some have even conspired and said they sow seeds of chaos to drive up their demand for international shipping, right? They've been doing this for, did I mention, 300 years. Okay, so if Iran suddenly broke out into peace and the strait wasn't as threatened as it's been for the last 47 years because the regime is gone, Lloyd's can't charge as much as they used to charge for that premium because it's safer to go through there now. You get it? Risk goes down, premiums go down, they lose revenue. They profit from the tension in the region, and they profited handsomely from it. And there's some British analysts that are really good at explaining this. Anyway, Elroy, what's up, buddy?
Well, my friend, I'm going to blow your mind with this one.
Do it.
Where is the uranium?
Iran's uranium?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe they're doing this secretly, but I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Where the hell is it, and why don't we just go get it? Well,
we're not on the ground. Two, it's probably in a bunker that we've already hit. It may be sealed in. I think our intelligence services have a bead on that. The Iranians also had it dispersed. It's not all in one suitcase sitting in a layer somewhere with, like in a movie, in a silver box with a dial on it or something. So the thing is, it'll be harder to smoke that out and get your hands on it than it would just be to decapitate the regime, let peaceful people take over, and then negotiate a transfer. To go in and by force try to find it and transport it is probably less likely and harder to accomplish than just making sure the people rise up, take over their country, negotiate with the new leadership, and then get a This is the military grade version, not the electric generation generated. The 60% enriched stuff is what the world wants to get a hold of, because Iran walked into the negotiations before we hit them bragging about how much they had. They just flopped it on the table, if you know what I'm saying. And so then we had a verification of the quantity we suspected.
I believe the Israelis could go in there and get it.
Maybe, but this isn't James Bond, and the place is crazy right now. And we're in control of the skies, and we're in control of the water around it. We're still picking off targets, but they've still got because they weren't just a military with an outward military. They got this IRCG force, which is like a quasi police force on the ground, neighborhood to neighborhood, patrol stations, command centers, all over that country to threaten their own citizens. And you're not just going to walk in there and take it. I mean, I think if you knew exactly where it was, maybe, but most likely we've already hit the targets where it could be. It's going to be even harder to be accessible.
Well, the only person that might be able to get it then is Goldfinger. So there we go.
Goldfinger. You remember that James Bond movie? Freaked me out. I was a kid.
Dude, that's freaky, especially
the song Goldfinger.
Yes, but you had the naked lady in gold with the strategically placed pillow to cover her butt.
To cover her bootay.
Yes.
By the way, she did not die. There used to be this old myth that she was painted with gold and then she died.
With real gold and she died. Yep.
She actually did not die. I actually believed that myth my whole life until the internet came along and went, oh, never mind.
And it's like, what kid died from Pop Rocks?
Kid Rock. Did I answer it correctly?
Sure.
Back after this. Hey, y'all, it's Leland from Leland Live and Leland List. That's my real estate brokerage where I connect you to simply the best professionals in real estate in the state of Alabama. I know these folks. I know they work hard, they communicate well, they don't miss deadlines. And if you're thinking about making a move in real estate anytime soon, reach out to me at lelandlist.com and I'll put you in touch with them. It's lelandlist.com, lelandlist.com.
America, does anybody really believe that Washington, especially Congress, is going to reduce the debt? They're not. In fact, nobody even talks about it anymore. That has a massive impact on the value of the dollar and the currency. And it's only a matter of time, in my humble opinion, that this is going to implode. If your retirement is mostly stocks and bonds, you may be taking a risk, more risk than you think. Now look, diversification, that's what real experts talk about. It's a hedge against instability. Have you noticed precious metals, silver and gold, are having a spectacular bull run? Doesn't it make sense to get in it before the rocket takes off? My friends at Monetary Gold have been around since 2000, and they have the experience over more than a quarter of a century to help tailor your portfolio to your needs. If you call now and say Mark sent you, it will cover up to a lifetime of your IRA fees on qualified accounts. Call Monetary Gold now at 877-NOW-GOLD. That's 877-NOW-GOLD, 877-NOW-GOLD. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
This report is sponsored by Positive Coaching Alliance.
I remember that when I was a kid. I remember this lady singing that song.
Goldfinger.
You think Bond could go get the uranium? Is this a future
Without
movie?
a doubt. Sean Connery would be in and out just like that. And have like 5 of the hottest women in the
When's
country.
the new? Have they named a new Bond yet? I think have they picked the dude yet?
They have not picked the new Bond yet. Supposedly they were going to do a woman inheriting
I
the
know
007.
it. Good God.
No,
They're
no,
going to
no,
have
no.
Whoopi Goldberg being James
No,
Bond.
no, no. She wasn't James Bond. She was just 007.
Yeah, I know, but they'll race swap it, gender swap it. It'll be like Bruce Jenner.
There's been nothing official announced yet, but that's one of the most profitable franchises of all time.
The new ones are pretty cool. The Daniel Craig ones are good. You know the story about how they changed style?
Mm-hmm.
Austin Powers embarrassed them.
Yes.
By spoofing them. They went, we got to Jason Bourne this thing. And that's when the Bond movies changed. And I didn't really like some of the old ones as much as I did.
Casino Royale, I think, was the first shift.
Yeah.
To
it was
a more
good.
serious tone.
Good stuff. All right. Yeah, we will get back to the phones here in a minute. Let me tell you all about Hueytown Pond. Tommy reached out yesterday and told me he does still have some of the law enforcement Glocks, $399, previously owned by law enforcement agencies. He had a huge batch of them. He had them in all 3 calibers, 9, 40, and 45. I don't know what he's got left, but that's a good price either way. Y'all go see him at Hueytown Pond. But he also let me know that they've got some sound suppressors. I didn't realize 22 suppressors. I bet that's quiet. Are kind of all the rage right now, and he's got them in stock. Got tons of them in stock, and they've got some of their suppressors as low as. Let me pull this price up, make sure I get it right. They've got suppressors as low as $298 for some of the models. That's a good starting point if you're looking for sound suppression, which is, again, in and of itself a whole industry category now. Go see them at Hueytown Pond. This is a Sure Enough gun store. Brook Lane Drive in Hueytown. Go see Tommy. Back in a minute. All right, y'all, let's keep on trucking, man. We're almost done with a Thursday. Where did this week go? Big weekend coming up. It should be beautiful weather this weekend. Back in the 80s, a lot of sunshine. We need it. My man Thomas is over at Stockton Mortgage. These guys are making people's dreams come true. Thomas, it's such a nervous time when you're being judged and pulling your credit and figuring it all out and pulling your paperwork, but y'all help people through the whole process.
Man, that's right. That's the reason I wasn't available last night. I was on the phone just about the time that you called me. Actually, one of your listeners actually was a son of a son-in-law of one of your listeners, man, and we love that. Hey, we love that. One of your listeners, their whole family listens to your show, and they referred their son-in-law to call me, and that's who I was on the phone with when you called. And man, I love that. I'm so thankful that the word's getting out and people are calling. So I was going through. They had lots of questions. And so it's just, I spent 30, 45 minutes on the phone with them answering lots of questions. And, hey, we are here for it. And, then I spent some more time with them today answering more questions. So that's part of our job, and just going through all the different options available to them. And, we love to, when we take an application and looking at everybody's scenario, everybody's situation is different. Our job as mortgage professionals is to, what people are paying us to do is they're paying us for our knowledge. And we take everyone's situation, we look at their credit, we look at their income, we look at their assets, and then we ask them lots of questions about what their goals are. Are they trying to save money, keep a lot of money in their pocket? Are they trying to pay their home off faster? So that means maybe they want to pay their house off in 15 years or 10 years, or maybe they want their payment to be lower. So then we want to put them in a 30-year term. So we ask all these questions so that we try to put them in the best loan product available. And then, because everybody's situation is different. So that's why it takes some time for us to counsel them and look at all the different loan products that we have available to us. And so, you may not get that when you call a 1-800 number. They're just going to put them in whatever they think is best. And
for sure,
or whatever. They're not going to take the time when you're just another number. They're not going to take the time to go through all of that. And that's why you need to speak with somebody local that's going to take the time and go through and listen to you and really be invested in what you're trying to accomplish. It's not just a house, it's a home, and it's where you're going to raise your family and this transaction is going to make a difference financially for you. It's not just going to be a home, but it could make a difference financially moving forward. So we want to make sure that we put you in the right product so that it doesn't, be a noose around your neck moving forward. So, hey, we put them in the right position, and we listen and counsel them in the right way. So we want to put them in the most economical, lowest price product that we can each time. And so we have lots of products available. And man, we have been so busy. I didn't get out of here at about 7:30 last night.
That's good work, man. You got to put in the hours.
We're going to be here again tonight. So give us a call, 205-859-8859, or savewithstockton.com.
So if you want to catch Thomas, he's hanging out right now.
That's right. We're here.
Savewithstockton.com. You'll get the phone number there. Thomas, good story, man. I appreciate the story tonight.
All
right, there's Thomas tonight, taking care of business. Let's go to Rick. He's been holding forever. A couple of lines open if y'all are trying to get in tonight. Rick, what's going on with you, buddy?
My battery's running down. I've been thinking about this Islam. I've been looking at this business up one side and down the other, and it bugs me to no end. They keep calling this a religion.
That
best.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with that, Rick. If I can jump in, I actually heard Tommy Tuberville in an interview today talking about this at length. He's not backing down from his criticism. We are foolishly in this country, because of our heritage and our childhood training about religious tolerance. And we all, in our DNA, believe that is just that is part of our founding. It's who we are. So we know we got variations of different religions and people that don't mean any harm, and they just want to worship. If you want to be a Mennonite or an Amish, or if you want to be Jewish or Christian or any of these other groups, as long as you're leaving everybody else alone, that's our country.
Tolerance.
And they're using that tolerance against us like a suicide pact. Our Second Amendment, or really our First Amendment on this issue, is not a suicide pact. And Islam comes cloaked in religion, and it seems it's easy to call somebody a bigot for not supporting, more of its presence. But y'all, they meet in these madrasas and train each other on, even if you take away terrorism and the violence, when they get into communities, they start right now in London.
Right,
Rick, they're
torture,
demanding
murder.
They believe in some parts of their faith that if the imam says it's okay, a guy can marry an 8-year-old. I mean, it's true. It's throughout the less developed world. Yeah, and they have their own legal code. They have their own education system. They have their own sort of judicial system as part of that legal code, economics, banking, and it's all integrated. It's a governmental issue. And of course, they have a militant wing that's kind of their military. And
they brainwashed all those people.
If you grow up in it, that's all you know. I mean, and if they want to have that in their lands where it originated, fine. They can just live in that, and that's fine with us. But
they want to kill all the Jews and the Christians. Those are the good people in the world.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick. Look, it's about assimilation, and as much as can be side by side assimilation with people who are Muslim, and it happens. There are Muslims in our community. There are I think a million Muslims in New York that do get along side by side, but it's the element within that is plotting and scheming to convert people around them to their belief system in a very aggressive way. It's not even, like I said, even if you take out the threats and the violence and all that stuff that's printed in their holy book, they have never in the history of that faith acquiesced and changed and assimilated and melded into another culture. They remain true to their belief system and demand others around them adhere to that. We're seeing conflicts with that in London right now with daily prayers. It's starting to happen in New York City where they'll close everything down. You have to stop during the 5 times a day prayers. There are restaurant owners and retail establishments that are getting harassed and threatened with destruction and fire and other violence all over London right now in some areas because they're not serving halal food. In other words, they'll come in with these demands. At some point, there are school systems here in the United States where they're being sued and demanded that they put in foot baths and things like that. It's demand. There comes a demand for acquiescence on our side, and there's very little acquiescence from their cultural beliefs. And in some ways, I admire that. If Christians were more firm in their beliefs and understood what they were supposed to be defending and did it, including the clergy, Christianity wouldn't be in such a weak position right now. Don't give me your church numbers. That doesn't tell me anything. There's a slaughter coming. And so you got to understand the cultural differences and where those clashes are and how it gets resolved. And in the places where they get critical mass, the acquiescence is always from the Western society that they move to. Look at Minnesota. The political leadership's afraid of them. The Somalians, they've changed their flag at the request of the Somalians to look like the Somali flag. That's acquiescence. That is not assimilation. That is when the assimilation, man, how did I get this heavy this late in the show, David Sears? The assimilation, what's the word I'm looking for? Requirement should be on the newcomer there's a host nation and then the immigrant. The immigrant should adhere to the values and change the way they live to suit the nation they moved to be a good guest and to meld with your host. I would do that. And I've thought about that. Like, just, y'all know how much I love traveling to Italy. If I went there, I'd learn the language. I've been trying it. It's difficult. We're not that good at it. I love the food. But if they got laws on a certain thing, I just have to do it. I wouldn't want to violate the principles of my faith. But why would you move somewhere that would ask you to do that, right? So it's complicated, but it's not. And it's not a new thing. I said this earlier. I got on a rant about this earlier. This is not new in human history. These two value systems have come up against each other time and time again over 1,400 years, and it always ends in violence. Always. Every single time of some sort. Whether it's just crime and or war or terrorism, it's always violence. Every other people group in the world can pretty much assimilate and live side by side. There are very few groups that are so diametrically different and come at the world with different forms of government that govern them and completely become oil and water immediately. And that's what we're dealing with. And it's not anything intolerant or new with modern Americans not being fearful of it. It's because if you know history and you read it and you understand patterns, here it comes again. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. We're not unusual or different in that way. One side will win out over the other. The thing is, we're at a point where we got to pick a side. Allen and Company. Let's talk about a very, very Christian holiday, and that would be Easter's coming up. Some of y'all do Easter gifts. Maybe you've got an occasion coming up this year, Mother's Day, graduation. I'm seeing how quickly that's coming upon us, just a couple months away. Allen Company does laser etching, and they can etch that graduation date into anything. They can make something beautiful for that graduate that they can commemorate this season of life with, and do it very affordably with a custom touch. Put it in that silver box. That graduate will love it. Y'all, it's Allen and Company. If you want custom work, if you want a personal touch, you want to deal with a wonderful family, go meet the Thompsons and get to know Allen. Then you'll have a personal jeweler that can design things for you and or redesign things for you and or clean it, fix it, straighten it, resize it, do anything you need. There's maintenance that comes with fine jewelry. Allen and Company. Y'all reach out to him over in Vestavia on Highway 31. Tell him we said, hey, Allen and Company. 551 Leland Live, talking to NM5 Ox Foundation Solutions, ready to come check out your basement, your slab, your whatever you got going on in there, especially crawl spaces. Crawl spaces are really prone to a lot of things in that they're kind of open to the ground and all kind of moisture, mold, allergens, spores get up into your house. If you don't have encapsulation, they do encapsulation at Ox Foundation Solutions. In addition to everything else, it's a full-fledged company that does it all, from fixing the cracks and the shifts and water intrusion to leveling your whole house. That's the biggest project, I would suppose, drilling those helical piers in and getting your house stabilized. That's so important. Then, of course, when you do get that moisture, you wind up with the mold, and let them treat that, remediate it, get it out of your house. We're heading into straight-up humidity season. I think we're going to be feeling that this weekend. Don't play around with it. Have a healthy home. Take good care of it. Let them get that out of your life and seal it off with encapsulation. It is oxstrong.com, the best. They are the best. They set out to be the best. They have become the best. oxstrong.com. Here's Gary up next. We'll do a couple more calls and see what else we can do to get out of here. Gary, what's up?
Hey, brother. How you doing?
Doing well.
I was just going to throw in, you were talking about Muslims, Cran. I don't think a lot of people, especially maybe younger people who haven't studied history like we have. When I was in college, I took a lot of comparative religion just because I was interested in it, and I've read the Quran.
Yep.
And everybody always, Obama always said it's a peaceful religion. No, it's not
at all.
It says in there, plain as day.
Yep.
That you either convert the infidel or you put him to the sword. That's what it says. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what it says. That ain't a peaceful religion, man.
Not in the least.
It's going to convert you or kill you.
And I challenge people that think that way to go read it. Just go. I had a young person that was one of my son's friends that was all, moral equivalent about everything. And I was like, well, just read it, because then you understand some people of that faith are going to fundamentally read that text and follow it to the letter, like all faiths. And some are just going to be kind of secular, and they'll eat the food and they'll talk to their family and carry those traditions, but not act on it. But some will act on it, and it clearly has commands and a prescription for how to handle situations, and it is always violent.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like in the Christian religion, you've got you got people that sprinkle and dunk, play with snakes and all that other stuff. It's an interpretation. It's the same way in the Muslim religion, but like I said, if you just go in there and read it, it says,
Yep, just read the book. I shared that story earlier in the show, Gary. I shared the same story. I was so curious about any belief system as a young man that was different than ours here in America. And so I studied the commies in the 80s during the Reagan era like crazy. But then I became fascinated with the Iranians and the fundamental principles by which they thought they were justified to kill the world. And it's shocking. It's shocking when you sit there, just like Thomas Jefferson did the same thing. There's a copy of his Quran, I think, in the archives. I believe it's in the Smithsonian, but he bought it not because he wanted to be Islamic, because he wanted to understand why these people kept taking our ships and killing our people off the coast of Libya. And it wasn't called Libya back then. And so he bought it. And what he did, as soon as he got done reading it, he went and wrote a lot about it. You can go read that too. And he went and started a Navy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, I just, like I said, I remember when I used to hear Obama say, "Oh, it's a peaceful religion." No, it's not.
Yep. No doubt.
There are peaceful people in that religion.
No doubt, like all religions.
Dream of doing any of that stuff, but there's other folks.
Gary, good call, man.
Who's running around?
That's how you do it right there. Yeah, we went up deep on this subject tonight, and the thing is, by stating that, you're not even. You talk to a Muslim about it, they don't even find that offensive. You're just having a matter-of-fact conversation about what their holy book tells them, commands them to do, and they know it. They're very aware of it. And like I told the story earlier, the friend that I talked to about it said, I said, "Does it command you to kill me? I'm an infidel. I don't believe the way you do." He goes, "It does." And I said, "Would you do it?" He goes, "I choose not to." And that's the way a lot of the more peaceful people in Islam choose to behave. They're not fundamentally going to go act on it. But then you see ISIS Remember ISIS when they were beheading people? These are the fundamentalists, not extremists, fundamentalists. The book is extreme. But when you fundamentally follow it, you're following every letter and every prescription in a more rigorous way. And when it says put your blade on their neck, that's what they were doing in those videos during the Obama era. They were chopping heads because that's what they thought gets them to heaven. Don't you want to go to heaven? What motivates you? Ask yourself that. What does your faith teach? You know you're supposed to follow it. At some point, people get convicted and do things that's the only way they're going to get there. Put the vest on and go pull the cord. It's very sincere. And what Jefferson decided was Congress, I know I've only got a couple of minutes and I got to get out of here. Congress kept wanting to get up money to pay the Barbary pirates. They wanted to pay them a ransom to let our people go and to quit attacking our merchant boats because our commerce as a country depended on it. Without international shipping, our nation wouldn't have survived. We were great exporters, had a lot of great crops here and things that we sent to the other part of the world. It was getting broken in half by this same thing we're dealing with now with the Strait of Hormuz. Nothing's new under the sun. So he tried to understand why are these people? And he started reading the Quran and went, oh, we can't pay them because in the book it says they're going to keep asking for money because it's called the jizya. We have to pay them. And they believe that, and they believe they can then just turn around and cut our heads off. So we're going to have to fight them. Can't pay them off. Obama obviously did not know that when he paid them off. The ones that decide to act on it and bring about the end of the world, are you going to have to fight that? You can't negotiate it. You can't pay them off. You can't reason with somebody that fundamentally believes this is tied to their soul. Y'all, Tapco is a new sponsor here on the show, and I'm proud to add them. Michael's got a top-notch service shop downtown Birmingham on 6th Avenue. If you got car issues that other mechanics can't solve, they can solve it. These guys are just sleuths, and they pride themselves in that. Other shops, other car dealers and mechanics and people that own fleets, this is where they take their cars. Fair pricing, honest services, and get to the bottom of anything that's wrong with your car. Engine replacements all the way down to some rattle that's about to drive you insane. It is Tapco. Again, they're down on 6th Avenue, and I'm out of time. So, TapcoBham.com, T-A-P-C-O, TapcoBham.com. Y'all can get their phone number there. Reach out to Michael. Y'all go introduce yourselves. We all need a sharp technician in our life that can fix our cars. It ain't just mechanics anymore. This is more serious. Tapco, they can handle it. Y'all go see Michael and the team downtown Birmingham. See y'all tomorrow.
Goodbye, AJ.
Yeah.